I wish Nigeria never got independence. I know, that's a crazy thing to say. Some of you are already angry. Some of you are probably typing insults in the comments. But before you judge me, let me tell you a story. Not a story from a movie. Not a story from TikTok. Not a story your uncle made up during family meetings. This is the story of how Africa's most populated nation stepped into freedom and unknowingly stepped into one of the greatest political battles in African history. Let's go back. Way back. October 1st, 1960. The British flag was coming down. The Nigerian flag was going up. People were dancing in the streets. Women sang songs of victory. Men hugged strangers. Children ran around waving flags. For the first time, Nigeria belonged to Nigerians. The future looked bright. Too bright. Almost suspiciously bright. Because while ordinary Nigerians were celebrating freedom, some powerful men were already thinking about something else. Power. Who would control this new country? Who would make the decisions? Who would become the face of Nigeria? Who would sit at the top? You see, Nigeria wasn't a small country. Even then, it was huge. Different tribes, different religions, different languages, different cultures. Imagine putting hundreds of people inside one giant house and telling them, "Congratulations, you are now one family." Simple? Not exactly. At the center of this new nation stood powerful political giants. Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, Nnamdi Azikiwe, Obafemi Awolowo, Ahmadu Bello. These weren't ordinary politicians. These were men whose names could shake entire regions. Men who had supporters willing to defend them with everything they had. To many Nigerians, they were heroes. To others, they were rivals. And sometimes, rivals become enemies. Officially, everybody was talking about unity. Unofficially, everyone wanted influence. Everyone wanted their region protected. Everyone wanted their voice heard. And everyone wanted a piece of Nigeria's future. The cracks started small. So small, most people didn't notice them. Political arguments, regional disagreements, competition between parties. Nothing unusual. Or so it seemed. Then the struggle for power became more intense. Political parties began fighting fiercely for control. Supporters accused opponents of cheating. Opponents accused supporters of corruption. Newspapers attacked rival politicians almost daily. Trust started disappearing. Slowly, quietly, dangerously. Then came one of the biggest political shocks of the early years. Chief Obafemi Awolowo, one of the most influential politicians in Nigeria, was arrested and later imprisoned after being convicted of treasonable felony. His supporters were furious. Many believed politics played a role. Others believed justice had been served. The country became even more divided. And if you think social media arguments today are bad, you should have seen Nigeria back then. People argued in markets, they argued in buses, they argued in beer parlors. Politics was becoming personal. Then came the 1964 federal elections, and that's when things became ugly. Very ugly. The election was surrounded by accusations. Some opposition groups boycotted it. Many Nigerians questioned the results. Confidence in politicians continued to fall, but the real explosion was still coming. A year later, in 1965, Western Nigeria became a political battlefield. Supporters of rival parties clashed. Violence spread. Properties were destroyed. Communities became divided. The crisis became so notorious that it earned a frightening nickname: Operation Wetie. People were angry. People were frustrated. People were tired. And whenever citizens lose faith in politicians, another group starts paying attention. The military, the soldiers watched. quietly, patiently, observing everything. As politicians fought one another, some young military officers became convinced that the country was heading towards disaster. And then, January the 15th, 1966 arrived. Most Nigerians went to sleep expecting another normal day. They had no idea that a group of soldiers was already moving through the darkness. They had a plan, they had weapons, and they had targets. Before the sun rose, gunshots would echo through Nigeria. Before breakfast, some of the most powerful men in the country would be dead. Before the day ended, the government Nigerians voted for would no longer exist. The First Republic was about to collapse, and Nigeria was about to enter an era nobody was prepared for. An era of coups, assassinations, military rule, and eventually a war that would leave millions dead. But that story begins next time, because on the morning of January 15th, 1966, Nigeria woke up to a nightmare, and the men holding the guns were just getting started.